Welcome to the Truth About Employed Physicians podcast, a weekly show where we take you behind the scenes of the professional healthcare industry and reveal the little-known methods highly successful physicians, doctors, and professionals are executing right now to maximize their income, reduce their financial liabilities, and most importantly, regain the freedom to live their lives on their terms. Subscribe to the Truth About Employed Physicians podcast today so you don't miss a single episode of this highly valuable information from our host, a veteran physician with more than 20 years in practice and counting. Now, your host, Dr. Incorporated.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Incorporated bringing you another episode of The Truth About Employed Physicians. I hope you're having a good spring day. It's April here in the Midwest and feels good to see the buds coming out on the tree, some flowers coming out, the sunshine out. John and I are back here talking a little bit about his next steps in his life, which include moving to the central campus at Indiana University to begin his fourth year of med school. So you're leaving this weekend, right?
Yep, moving my stuff down on Sunday.
Yeah, so that's going to be a big job after having been in one place for 3 years. A lot of good memories in this location, I'm assuming.
Definitely.
Yeah, and so it's always a very special place where you start your married life. You know, that place that you and your wife just had some unique memories of living a simple life and a simplistic life. In many regards, I think you'll probably always treasure that place and that apartment that you stayed in. But time to move on to bigger and better things. And I hope this week has brought some good things for you and the audience. As doctors, I just want you to know I really appreciate all the work that you do, the lives that you've saved, the babies you delivered, like I just got done delivering a baby today, that just a very special part of what we get to do in medicine, and I hope you're able to thrive and enjoy each of that as opportunities arise for you. So we're continuing in our discussion about various elements of the young doctor's life, and today we're going to pick up the conversation about family life. And so family life's a big subject, but really you can think of it in the context of your circle of loved ones. That could be a spouse, that could be a boyfriend or girlfriend, that could be some dear friends, it could be family members. There's all sorts of people who could fit into that family life orientation. And I think giving ourselves socially to other people can be quite challenging in medicine. And so John, you've been married early in the process since your first year of medical school. And so have you found it difficult to maintain that marriage relationship because of the pressures of medicine, or is that something that hasn't been a struggle at all?
I think it can be difficult because medicine is very demanding, and so you have to be intentional about prioritizing your time with your spouse and making that a priority. Setting aside some time during the day where you focus on it and put the studying aside and the other things that you have going on aside.
Yeah, I've seen you do that, and I've seen you pour yourself into your wife and make sure you guys are together in the evenings and choose to really be home when you could be somewhere else studying. And I've always appreciated that way that you've handled that and really prioritized that marriage relationship. But I'm wondering if you extend the circle out a little bit further, do you and your wife have a lot of friends outside of that circle?
Well, we've got a pretty small circle of friends at this point. We kind of have, our old friends from high school or college that we keep in touch with, and then we've got two couples that we primarily spend time with during medical school. But even then, it's pretty infrequent, just due to the demands of medical school and also the demands of my wife's job. When I'm free, she's not free, and vice versa. So I have a little more free time right now. I could be, because I'm in between clerkships, so I could be hanging out with people more and spending that time, but she's in the middle of tax season as an accountant, and so she doesn't have that time.
No, not at all.
Doesn't even really have that much time for me either, so it's kind of an
odd equation for you right now, isn't it? But
so we enjoy the social aspect. I think she needs a little bit more of the socialization in her life than I do. I'm not a little bit more content to spend time by myself or just with her.
That brings up a good point. I think physicians as a whole tend to condition themselves to find that sort of satisfaction associated with the dopamine surge in the reward center in our brain, where we kind of learn to fill it ourselves, whether it be through our own self-care elements, or whether it really be through medicine too, because taking care of patients, getting accolades from your peers or from your superiors, all kind of, creates that reward system. Studying and doing well on a test gives you dopamine, right? I mean, you feel good about having done that. And so I think doctors as a whole kind of learn this sort of individualistic way of sort of making themselves feel better and actually being able to do it without a lot of people around them. Do you find that to be the case? You just kind of said that, like you're pretty content with not having to have a lot of relationships to sort of create that for you. Is that the case?
So that's pretty accurate.
Okay. So just out of curiosity, you said you had a couple friends as well that you guys spend time with. Are they married friends or single friends?
They're married friends.
All right. So you guys as a whole tend to navigate, because you're young married, towards your married peers as opposed to your unmarried peers.
Yeah, I think it makes sense because it allows both of you to have a friend of the same sex and also be friends with, have mutual friends, right? It's a built-in mutual friendship rather than her having a friend with a girl over here and me having a friend with a guy. Well, when we spend an evening socializing, we can do it together. We're both socializing with one of our own friends, but we're also getting to spend time together at the same time, kind of two birds with one stone. Whereas if we had independent friends, it's a lot less likely that we're going to be socializing as a group with single people.
Just out of curiosity, did you guys leave opportunities for you to do things, though, individually with other friends, or mostly do you do things just as a couple?
I think we leave a lot of opportunity for us to do things individually. I think Cheyenne is more prone to wanting to do everything together, and I'm more prone to, she can go hang out with her friends if she wants, and if I want to spend some time with my friends, I do. But, for example, like today, she went and got lunch with one of her friends. And I had a meeting over lunch, and that's fine. Or one of my buddies is in town, I'll go see him, and she can spend the evening, doing something else. So,
yeah.
It's healthy and important.
How about outside of friends? You guys able to spend time with family, or do you find that to be a difficult challenge to sort of prioritize spending time with your extended families?
I think we spend time with our family. So different people have a different idea of what's an adequate amount of time to be spent with your family. So I think I'm more prone to, I'm not someone who calls you guys a lot or texts a ton. I'm more, when I see you, I'll talk to you about what's been going on, and get that quality time in person every few weeks, or every couple months depending on the season, whereas Cheyenne's a lot more, she talks to her sisters and her parents probably every day, and but we're also further away, so we can't see them in person as much, so we see them every 2 or 3 months or so. So I think
it's interesting physician to physician though too, that you as a medical student, me as a physician, like I'm used to that world too, where we're not talking every day. And maybe it's a guy thing too, but I don't feel the need to talk to you every day, the need to sort of be connected that tightly. Like I've got my own world, and actually it's a pretty tight world, kind of managing the relationships in our home between your mom and the siblings that are still here and a few of our close friends. But as a whole, like most doctors, I don't have a huge circle of a social network of lots of friends. I have a few close friends. We went out for dinner with one of those close friends, a husband and wife, this past week, and that was really enjoyable, but we hadn't done that for about a month. And so we can go seasons at a time of just kind of being happy and content to be home. But I think that's wired into me as a physician. In a marriage, we can fill our love tanks, if you will, with each other. We can fill that with family members. And certainly medicine has a way of filling that. Again, as I referenced, I've found that medicine's been a wonderful way for me to get that dopamine reward system. I love going to the office and taking care of patients, provides that for me. Delivering a baby like I did provides that for me, like just today. And so it's a good feeling. I enjoy it. but family especially is an important factor in that reward system for us. And there's always a tension of letting medicine not usurp those vital relationships, become too important. Has your wife ever said to you, you are out of balance, or something along those lines, like you're spending too much time studying, or you're spending too much time in medicine, I need some attention, or anything along those lines? Or do you guys have conversations like that?
I think we've probably had a few conversations like that.
Yeah.
So, but she also I think she's very understanding of the amount of time that it takes to do some of the things. So certain rotations, require more studying and more time to be spent, and it's more of a reminder of make sure you prioritize spending time with me as well, despite needing to spend time doing this, and have a little bit of balance. But I think it's a team effort to reach our goals, and so we're kind of in it together. She knows that it takes a lot of work, and so she sacrifices some time with me, but knows the outcome down the road is worth it for both of us.
And I actually think that's one of the things that forges a bond between you and your wife in those early years, is that the fact that you both are going through those trenches together, and you're both making sacrifices together for the sake of the whole, for the sake of you reaching your goal, but also for the sake of you guys both being in it together. And when we go through hard things together, sometimes with relationships, it actually makes it stronger in the long run. I know I'm thankful that your mom periodically reminds me that I'm spending too much time on medicine, and maybe not enough time with her or our kids or other things, because quite honestly, it will easily do that if you let it. And so I value the fact that she helps me stay balanced, and I don't get that out of balance anymore. And I'm certainly at the age now where I look forward to that time off and time away as well. But it's always something that I think is ever present for us in medicine. It's kind of like a lion or an animal crouching around. And medicine is like that, sort of looking to devour us. It'll kind of take all of our time. It'll take all of our lives if we let it, and actually can do it in a pretty satisfactory way for us as doctors, because again, we get a lot of personal satisfaction from living in that medical world, because we're helping people, we're doing things that are positive, and we're just really filling our own tanks in some regards through medicine, and it's easy to do. It creates a lot of pressure. I don't think it's healthy, and I think overall it's not very balanced for you to do that. That's why marriage and other relationships are critical. And in fact, I think a good marriage is one of the most powerful antidotes to the demands of medicine. I've always found our home to be a safe place, a haven, sort of a place that I could walk into and know that it's going to be a place of rest, not a place of chaos, a place where I can recover from a busy, hard day, where a lot of things have emotionally tugged at me, and a place where I'm going to find really the beauty and power of a love relationship that I have with my wife and your mom. And that is refueling to me, because in medicine our tanks can get kind of emptied at times, and so you're already starting that process. You're already building into that. There's this notion that we all kind of have love tanks, if you will. Our tanks, our emotional tanks, are sort of filled or emptied by various things in our life. And medicine can actually do a little bit of both, but our relationships can too. I know there's a book written by Gary Chapman called The 5 Languages of Love, and it's about marriage, but there's a lot of translations of this into the corporate world, the work world, etc. And basically, we all have different ways in which our love tanks get filled. And I know the 5 categories, or the 5 love languages, are words of affirmation, physical touch, receiving gifts, quality time, and acts of service. And I know I have certain of those love languages that fill me up better than others, and certain that do nothing to me. As an example, receiving gifts has long been known in our family as something that doesn't really do a whole lot for me. Like I like to give gifts to people, but when I receive a gift, it just doesn't kind of do a whole lot, even though I'm thankful and grateful for it. Not like I like physical touch. So physical touch in our home has been something that that tends to fill my tank. And your mom has some different love languages, and I'm sure you and Cheyenne have love languages that are important to you. As you kind of hear those 5 out there, do you know any of those 5 that sort of jump out to you as being important more to you or more important to Cheyenne that you can tell?
Yeah, I think that the physical touch is important for me. Just the physical confirmation of presence and caring, I think, matters a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think for Cheyenne, probably that as well, but also words of affirmation. I think like recognition of things that are well done and efforts that are put forth, and compliments and whatnot. I think that they carry a lot of weight for her, which is important.
Yeah, I think it's important to know what your spouse's love languages are or your loved one's love languages are, and try and speak those to them as much as possible. There's a whole lot of things involved in managing relationships while you're trying to go to medical school, while you're trying to do your training. Are you glad you got married early in medical school?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like an extra booster superpower of being a medical student who's married. I think you have to commit more time to it, so there's some, I don't want to say drawbacks, but definitely some additional factors that play in with being married, but I think the advantages far outweigh any disadvantages.
Do you ever feel like you're an outlier with that? In other words, you can't identify or understand what your peers are doing or going through because most of them are not married.
I don't know. Since we have friends who are married, I think that are in medical school, I think that makes a big difference. Connect with them, and I think I can still relate to my other peers, but maybe not quite as much. I'm definitely thankful that I'm not trying to date or meet someone during medical school. I think that'd be very challenging to start a new relationship in the midst of all the demands the school has.
Yeah.
That would be very difficult. So I don't envy people who are doing that, even though it's certainly worthwhile.
Yeah, sure. So I know delaying marriage is really a very common thing, and when it comes to medical students and even residents, because of all the time demands and all the responsibilities. You just referenced that. Do you think most medical students who delay those relationships do that just by default because, medicine and training are so demanding, or do you think they're intentionally trying to put it off to wait till a later time when maybe they do have more time and energy to dedicate to those relationships?
I think that they see the demands of medicine and think that it's too challenging to undertake at the same time to have two sort of focuses, and so they delay it. And I personally would recommend not delaying it.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, if you have someone that you're
the right person.
The right person, you've been with them, and they're the one. I would recommend getting married sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
If you're going to get married, no reason to wait for 2 years or wait till after medical school. I think you should do this sooner rather than later. That's what we did. I certainly don't regret it, but I definitely think it's a more challenging position if you're with someone and you don't know where things are going. You've only been together less time. You don't know if what the long-term relationship looks like. That becomes a lot more challenging, and especially with all the medicine requires of you, the demands can be challenging when there's an uncertainty in your relationship.
Yeah, when you have a healthy marriage and healthy marriage relationship, it serves as a reservoir for filling that love tank. So you got to go to, no matter how tough the day's been, no matter how good or bad it's been, you're going to come home to a place where you're loved unconditionally, and you're loved in some regards in an identity that's beyond medicine. It's beyond your role as a doctor. It's really your role as a husband or a wife, and your role in that home, which is a very special thing, and that's way different than the identity perhaps that we have as physicians. And I think it's powerful. It really is like a superpower that you reference, because it allows you to have that. So one of the inevitable questions that come up, though, for medical students who are married is, are you going to delay having kids, or is that something that you have any concern about? Like, would you guys start your family during this whole training process, or is that something you've talked about, let's wait till after residency? How's that look for you?
We personally don't want to have kids during medical school. We're planning to try to have kids during residency, but I think that it may seem like a delay, but the reality is that people our age are getting married later anyway,
Yes.
having kids later anyway, so I don't think it's really any different than the average.
Yeah.
Right? The average person our age doesn't have kids till, I think they're like 26, 27, somewhere in there, and they're getting married around in that same range as well. And so waiting until residency isn't really waiting. That's more just what most people do these days.
Yeah.
And that is all about personal preference as well. And so that's kind of our preference.
But you have taken a step in this past year to prepare yourself for kids because you got a pet.
Yeah, got a dog. I don't know where you're going with that.
But you did, which is often the first step.
Yeah, so we got a dog. So that's been good. That's fun.
Brings another layer of responsibility in a home, though, right?
Definitely.
And how do you guys go about sharing that responsibility? Is that more you or more your wife?
I think it depends on the season we're in. So.
Okay. That's a nice politically correct answer.
Yeah.
All right, so you share it.
Yeah, we share it.
All right.
Yeah. The pet was brought in for my wife. I got it for her birthday present last year, but I've always wanted a dog as well, and so I'm very happy to have a dog. So
many of you out there,
beneficial.
Yeah, many of you out there can fully understand and appreciate whether it be a cat, a dog, an iguana, I don't know, a potbelly pig. Maybe you got something that's going to bring another living sort of creature into your home that's a little lower maintenance than a kid, but yet provides, again, a thing that makes you feel good, though, right? So, like, I know you love your dog. I've seen you with your dog. And when you get home and your dog comes running up to you, wagging tail, and it makes you feel good, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it hits that reward center in our brain. You get that little burst of dopamine, and it's kind of a good thing. And so, it's, not all of you can do that, obviously, but I understand why you do, because, again, you're beginning to build a repository of sources whereby you can make yourself feel well and balanced and healthy outside of medicine. And that's the big warning in this conversation about family life and medicine today for young doctors. I really want to warn you, don't let medicine control you. Don't let medicine dominate and destroy or undermine or even mind-numbingly take away the power and vitality of vital relationships in your life, whether that be with your girlfriend, boyfriend, spouse, kids, family members, you name it. There's all kinds of sources, even for yourself. There are things that we do for ourselves that bring balance to our life, whether it be, like for me, I have a great time. I love running. I love praying while I run. I enjoy Bible reading periodically. I enjoy really watching sports at times. There are things that kind of fill my tank that are really important. And if you let medicine crowd them out and become your sole source of inner satisfaction, at the end you'll be pretty dissatisfied. I almost guarantee it. So I hope you, as a young doctor in training, and even me as an older doctor who's kind of experienced some of these things, that we both can encourage one another to find that balance, and not let medicine dominate us in our family life. And so, last thing I'll say for you as young doctors is go slow when it comes to choosing your spouse. We just talked about this, that a lot of people kind of wait for that process to play out, and as you wait that to play out, and there's a lot of time demands, it's easy to become easily satisfied to choose somebody that maybe is not the right match for you. And I've always said to our kids, probably the most important decision you're going to make in your life, not even what your career is going to be, is the person that you choose to marry. That's the person who's going to have the biggest good or bad impact on your life long term, as just about anything. So if you're a student, a resident, who's, at that point where you're like, I wish I could find somebody, don't kind of let yourself the guard down and just be satisfied with somebody who you know is not a good match. Patiently wait, find the right person, and it'll make a big difference in your life. So I know you feel that way about your spouse. I know I feel that way about my spouse. So I hope you have a great week this week as you do what you do as a doctor, and I hope maybe this will bring some conversations forth for you about family life. If you have some input or feedback or have your own set of questions when it comes to how to manage family life as a doctor, I encourage you to leave them at our SpeakPipe at Doctor Incorporated's website, or to shoot us an email, or be happy to add you to our Facebook group as well that talks about various issues related to medicine and life. And so I encourage you to give us some feedback and be involved. So hope you have a great day.